Hey, hello everybody. It's Romania Black. And oh my gosh, it feels good to be back to having another live stream with you all. I'm so excited that Floor and Devlesk are here for you all in the chat. That's so exciting to talk with you all today about Fujimoto. I didn't exactly know how to do this live stream because I've been wanting to do one talking about the end of Chainsaw Man season 1, but I was very nervous because obviously I'm anime only. So I was like, well, I don't want to just talk about that because there won't be a whole lot to talk about because there's still so much shrouded in mystery. And then we did the series Fire Punch, the manga series for it. And I wanted to talk about that. I mainly wanted to do a live stream to talk about Fire Punch. And around the time that I thought about doing a live stream, I wanted to do the other anthologies that Fujimoto had created. And so I thought, well, we'll just do a big live stream to talk about Fujimoto, to talk about Chainsaw Man, to talk about Fire Punch. We'll just talk about all of it together. I've got some comments that had been left on YouTube that I wanted to talk about that I didn't get a chance to really respond to because I wanted to bring them up in the chat and just talk about the series as a whole with y'all. And it's been a good summer, but it's going by so quickly. We just have this live stream, and then next week we'll do a live stream about Death Parade, and then we'll be done for a little while before Millionaire Detective ends, and then we'll do a live stream for it. But that'll be like the last set of live streams. It's this one, Death Parade, and Millionaire Detective for a while now. So I'm trying to savor it with y'all, but thank you guys so much in the chat for saying hello. I hope you guys are having a great Sunday, great Monday, however your day has been so far. I'm really excited. I meant to do this chat a couple weeks ago, and I had my father has AFib. He struggles with arrhythmia with his heart, and he had an episode. And so he's fine. He's doing great. He's at home. He's doing great. He feels a lot better, but there was about 3 or 4 days he had to be hospitalized for it. And so the day that it happened was the day I was supposed to do the live stream. I'm like, oh no, I need to go see him. I can't do this. So I'm very glad that you all were okay with me rescheduling, but he's doing fine. He's good. It's something he's struggled with for a while now. So it's something we kind of know about, but he's doing okay. So hello, Moon is in here too. And then Floor is going to be our moderator too, because before we get started, I have to tell you all, I have had I need to just tell somebody. I know I've been bothering the Discord with it, but it's something that has been like, bugging me to pieces. And that has been, and Edgar's here too. Like Hall of Discord is here to help defend me. Because I just want to say real quick, I'm glad that Floor is being a moderator because this live stream has freaked me out the last couple of hours. Because yesterday, I guess it was yesterday. Hi, Dan. Someone tried to spoil me with spoilers for Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen, and I was very upset. I didn't read the spoilers, luckily. It was usually, you guys know this too. There's a set of people that comment on the YouTube videos and Patreon, and I know who everybody is. And so when I see a new commenter on YouTube, I'm a little hesitant at first because I'm like a baby deer, like approaching a hand, being like, "Can I trust you?" And this was for Death Parade. And their comment just said the word Nanami. And I was like, oh, wait, this is not Death Parade. Are they trying to spoil me? So I was like, nope, back off. Like my instincts were going, no, let's not do that. And so I went and asked Discord to check. And then they came back and they're like, no, don't read that. That's really bad. And I was like, okay, I won't. So I got rid of the comment. And I just went ahead and blocked that user because I was like, I don't want to deal with this, with them commenting in other videos, things like that. And so then this person, they commented about, I guess because I trashed, here's my thing. They made it seem like I trash talk Spy Family. I didn't. I just said I really like Buddy Daddies. And here's the things I find, a little bit flawed with Spy Family, but I still really like the series, but they took it very negatively. And so it got kind of weird after that. Like they went to my Twitter account and tried to spoil me on there. And luckily some people on Twitter were like, don't read this. And then so I blocked them on Twitter. And then they went to my anime list page and tried to spoil me on that too. And I was like, dude, you need to like chill. Like it's just a comment. Reactors do not have to agree with you on everything. We don't have to say every show is the biggest batch of sunshine and rainbows. If we don't like it, we don't like it. I feel like this is good to bring up because Fujimoto's content is very, very, very an acquired taste. Like a lot of people are like, oh, Fujimoto, no, thank you. But a lot of people are like, no, that's my jam. So I feel it's totally fine if reactors and people commenting don't agree. Like we all like different things. But if I ever say something about a series that you take offense to or whatever, you can say like, hey, I don't agree with you. I think this about the series. And that's awesome. But don't try to just automatically try to spoil someone because you feel mad. Like that's really juvenile. And that's like something like a grade school kid would do, you know? And especially being a reactor, I'm like part of my channel is reacting to things and having really genuine emotions to them. And I can't fake that. So I'm not one of those people. So I'm like, yeah, no, just don't. But I'm very, very fortunate that I have moderators now on the channel. Floor is in the chat. Floor is one of the moderators. Be Happy is the other moderator, and they help moderate the Discord as well as Patreon, and they're checking YouTube comments. So that has made me feel really good because as my channel is getting bigger, I feel like having them there is like a stress relief. It's stress relieving for me. I'm like, oh, thank God you're here, because that helps make me feel better going into the comments knowing not gonna be spoiled. So yeah, so that's that story. So that's just had me on edge. I almost didn't want to do the live stream today because I was like, oh, I don't know, what if they show up? I think they're blocked so they can't show up. But luckily Moon was like, well, I'll just keep spamming if they try to spoil everything. And I'll be like, okay. So Undecided Toy Story, just about to start. I'm looking at the chat right now. Just about to start Goodbye Airy and Look Back this weekend. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, just wonderful. Ceci Saquinier, how you join the Discord? It is $1 on Patreon, and you just do $1 and then you're in like Flynn. That's my shameless plug for the stream. But you can join us and talk about whatever. I really like it. I try to make it a safe space for everybody. That I feel like people don't get negative too much on there. I know sometimes we like kind of razz on series, but we try to keep it fun when we razz. Like we'll be like, oh, I don't like that series. But I only ask people in the Discord, if it's a series I've not watched yet, don't be too negative, because that could impact how I feel when I go into the series for reactions. But other than that, I mean, I'm the same way. My taste, my brother's taste in anime are totally different. So we totally get on it. Are you planning on watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? We'll just get this question out of the way. I would like to, very much. I would like to watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's one of my brother's favorite anime. My brother loves JoJo's so much, and he has begged me for years to watch it. And right now, I just don't have time in my schedule. I would like to do a more retro poll like down the road this fall when we get some of these other series caught up. I would like to do a retro poll, and it will probably be on it. I don't know how it will do compared to others, but we'll just have to see, right? We'll just have to see. But yeah, I do eventually want to watch it, mainly so my brother will leave me alone because he's just like, please watch. And I'm like, okay, sure. Hanako, yes, Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, the very first show on this channel other than Nozaki-kun. Yes, Ceci, I am so excited it's getting a sequel. I'm so excited. It has a sequel manga? Ooh, that's exciting. Yes, please. How am I doing, Gavin? I'm doing good. Summer's going by too fast. I'm actually able to do these live streams because I'm on summer schedule with teaching. So I'm teaching 3 online classes, and then I go to work 2 days a week at my full-time job. So it's going really good. I have a lot more time this summer ahead because my schedule is about to get busy this week, because we not only have Jujutsu Kaisen starting, we also have Link starting, we have Bungo Stray Dogs starting. It is going to get crazy, but I'm really, really excited. So Toya, you can just do your assignment while you're chatting with me. There's no problem with that. I am so excited for Berserk. I'm very, very excited. I've never experienced it before, so I'm going in completely blind. So it's going to be a fun time. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. And then, yes, Dan, if you do get a chance to join, the Monster channel it gets pretty crazy. I will say, of all the channels though on Discord, and those of you on Patreon that are in this chat can attest to this, the Chainsaw Man channel is the most chaotic. It is just, I don't even know what's going on in the Chainsaw Man channel. I honestly don't know, because half the time people have black boxed everything about the manga for Chainsaw Man and I have no clue what's going on, or they all get into these random conversations and I peek in every now and then and been like, hey, is there something going on? Or I'll see my name tag and I'm like, hey, what's up? And they're just like, don't worry about it. And then I just leave and I'm like, okay, bye. I'm glad you guys are still alive in there, because it gets pretty heated. I've popped in a few times and there'll be 5 or 6 people having this heated argument about something. And then it's like a parent opening up a door being like, are you guys okay in there? And they're like, don't worry. Just like, okay. And I leave. Yeah, Floor, you are one of them. We don't know. Chainsaw Man is it's absolutely insanity on that channel. Yeah, Moon was in there too. Like, people just go crazy. But I feel like it's on theme with Fujimoto. Fujimoto is just, he is the Quentin Tarantino of anime and manga. That's all you can say. They have such a unique style, such a very distinct voice and vision. And I feel like the minute you look at something, you can go, that's Fujimoto. That's what it is. I absolutely love it. So I don't want to get into too much spoilers with this live stream because I know not everybody has experienced. This is kind of a variety show live stream where we have Fujimoto, the Anthologies, we have Fire Punch, and we have Chainsaw Man. So I don't want to get into a lot of spoilers in this stream unless you all ask questions that will require me to talk about spoilers. But I do want to just give this stream an appreciation and talk with you all about it and just answer questions that you guys have. I have some really, really cool comments from 123. 123, that username is amazing. I just now got it. Wow. And then non-binary Jitlung that I want to talk about as well as Moon. And Moon, I'm just now realizing that your comment on here was from you because I wasn't used to your handle on YouTube. So that's really funny. But yeah, so as far as the anthologies go, I know that Toy Store up there said they were just now getting to Goodbye Airy and Look Back. I absolutely love those series. I coach a speech team at the school that I work at. And so I actually have been transcribing Look Back and Goodbye Airy into duos that I think we could use competitively. And I'm really excited about that because nobody else on the team knows about Fujimoto. My fellow coaches don't know about Fujimoto either, but they read Look Back as a duo and they're like, oh, this story is really good. And I'm like, yes. So I'm really hoping that we competitively get to use it. It would be a lot of fun. And I would just love the idea of in a competitive speech competition using an anime and a manga as an actual piece because it's literature, right? It's literature. And so usually when people think of duos and proses and things like that in competition, they think of short stories and American stories. And I'm like, no, we can integrate stories from other cultures. And it's still, Fujimoto's work can transcend just about any culture and time and space because of the themes and how bonkers and out there is. But yet it finds a place to kind of reach us, which is cool. So yes, but oh, hey, Cyber, hello. So, and yes, Dan, the fandom reflects the show. Chainsaw Man is just, you guys will probably notice I'm going to jump around a lot in this stream because it's Fujimoto and we have so much to talk about. So if you guys bring something up in the chat, I will definitely talk about it. But I very much try as a coach to expose the students on my team to anime and manga. There's a couple that like anime and manga. And I had, like, for example, I had the Death Note novel when we went to nationals this last April, and I was reading the Death Note novel. And one of my students was like, oh my God, you like Death Note? And I was like, yes. So there we go. Do I plan to read the manga? Cyber, are you talking about Chainsaw Man? Is that what you are referring to? I get this question a lot. I'm going to probably answer it the same way I did with Jujutsu Kaisen. No, not yet. Because I stayed anime only with Jujutsu Kaisen. And so far, after only seeing the first episode, I'm in love with it. So I very much I can be a patient woman. There is so much anime and manga out there that I can be patient and bide my time watching so many other things. So yes. Moon says only if it takes like 10 years to get to season 2. Yes, I did say that in the Discord. I said, if for some reason it takes a lot of time to get Chainsaw Man season 2, but it's MAPPA. We know how this song and dance is going to go. Unless it's Yuri on Ice, they're going to crank that thing out in like 2 years and we're going to be fine. Yuri on Ice, they're just teasing us, like they do. But I just, wait for the movie or go watch it in theater. Oh, Cyber, that's a really good question because people have been bringing up the idea that there could be a movie before season 2 of Chainsaw Man. I'm hoping that if that's the case with Chainsaw Man, I'm hoping if they do a movie, they will do it like they did with Demon Slayer and Mugen Train, where they'll show the movie in theaters, and then like what they did with Demon Slayer, they adapted the movie into the season of the anime with the other anime. And that I really thought that was a clever move. I thought that was a clever move because then you could, if you missed the movie, you could watch it in terms of an anime format. And I thought that really worked. So if they do it like Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, then unfortunately I'm going to have to wait till the movie comes on to streaming. So that's going to suck. But I think that if they do it like Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, it will still work out because the Zero movie came out a year before the anime. So I'm fine with that. If they do the movie for Chainsaw Man and it releases before the anime comes out, I'm fine with that. I can do that. If it's on streaming, I think that'll work. So I don't know what they're gonna do, but I'm patient. Like Isabel pointed out, yeah, the dedication to being anime only is hard, but but it has been worth it. Like with Jujutsu Kaisen episode 1 of season 2, it was so worth the wait. I was like, yes, I'm already so excited. So I'm like, I think it'll be worth the wait. So as tempting as the manga is, I'm gonna wait until it comes out into the anime because I'm pretty faithful that they're gonna do well with it. What did we say here? Moon. I really don't want the movie. Can't go into details. Nope, that's fine. Don't want any spoilers. I don't want any hints or clues what to expect. Sussy, what do you expect for Chainsaw Man season 2? Ooh, I want to know who the dark-haired girl is or who the lady is that we see at the very end. Don't know what that's about. I want to find out who she is because Fujimoto does a really good job of writing female characters. So I'm really excited that there's another girl in the cast. I'm excited for that. Other than that, the Gun Devil, finding out more about the Gun Devil, there's such a mystery about them that is so fascinating. And Fujimoto does a very smart thing where they don't tell you a lot. They just tell you just enough. Where Fujimoto's like, here's some details, here's some mystery, here's some lore, here's some questions. Now sit on it for 3 years. And that's how I'm going to be. So without getting into spoilers too much, because again, live stream, y'all are coming here for different reasons. I'm excited about those two things mainly. I don't have any other expectations, which makes me very excited. One thing I love as a reactor is going into something with no clue what's going to happen. And I don't have any expectations. I just jump in and it's just like a barrage of surprises. Those are my favorite because when you have no clue it's coming and it just hits you like a semi truck, then it's like, oh, this is amazing. So I'm really, really excited about that. Toya, do you have any anime recommendations? Genre doesn't matter though. That question is like, oh, do you have any music recommendations? It can be anything. That's like going into a grocery store and saying, pick out one thing for me to eat. I mean, I don't care what, just pick out one thing. Without any genres, that's so hard, Toya. Could you narrow it down to a genre? I feel like that would help. Because otherwise I'll be like, here's all the things. Opening Pandora's box. Absolutely. So yeah, as far as Fujimoto's The Anthologies go, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at the anthologies and read them. There's 2 that came out before Chainsaw Man, when Fujimoto was 17 to 25, 70 to 21, and then 22 to 26. Can we talk to that? It's just so like, I know Fujimoto's not bragging with it, but the fact that Fujimoto was 17 years old and was writing as good as he did, and then up until the point he's 26, he's like, oh yeah, so for these 9 years of my life, here's the amazing writing I was doing. And then I did Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man. And I'm like, like, screw you. How dare you be good at what you do? But I think that's really a testament. And we were talking about it in the comments that there is, and very humble about it. I've not seen a lot of interviews, but what I have seen, they seem very humble and just like, oh, it's fine. Like, oh, I'm just doing what I do what I like. I really respect that because I think that somebody else, like a more egotistical person, would like flaunt that, and they don't do it. We were talking about it in the comments though, but there is a really cool distinction between Fujimoto 17 to 21 and 22 to 26. Like the way that they write in the first anthology, it's very raw and emotional, and the emotions are kind of all over the place. And it's in your face and very, 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 very startling, some of the stories. And we'll kind of go through those in a second. But then in 22 through 26, it feels more refined, more polished, more controlled, but it still has that Fujimoto kind of bonkersness to it, right? Non-binary Shitlung says in the chat, there's Fujimoto Lost Media, 3 one-shots not in the anthologies that they wrote for contests that we haven't gotten to read. Oh, are those translated into English? Non-binary Shitlung? Are those in English? And then I definitely, Burton, will not be reading the manga and top to anime. It's just as a reactor, I can't, because otherwise I'm doing that for My Hero Academia right now. And I'll be honest, like I liked my reactions to My Hero Academia this season, but when you know what's going to happen, it's kind of like, eh. So it's going to be either one of those things where you all read my manga reactions and get me some views, or wait till the anime. Because right now, I'll be honest, the manga reactions, they don't really get a lot of views. I love doing them. They're fun, but they don't really do much. So I'm like, which is fine. I'm still going to do them because I enjoy doing it. That's why I have the channel to begin with. But it is a lot. Manga reaction videos are a lot of editing and a lot of work, and a lot more so than the anime. So it's just kind of like, eh. And plus, the thing is, once I catch up, then it's week to week. There are only 20-page chapters for Shonen Jump, so there's not a lot you can really. I'm sure I could have a lot of conversation and discussion with them, but I don't know. So I prefer reacting to anime when it's a big series like this. But who knows? Maybe, maybe. Oh man, yeah. Well, Moon, that'd be great. So what did they say? We haven't seen the pages. What? So we don't know anything about them? So the 3 one-shots, Fujimoto just mentioned them, but we don't know anything about them? That's a tease. That's a big old tease. How dare they? Oh, man. Well, they need to publish. Or they need to get a hold of the people in the contest and get like some proofs or something. Surely they kept them. Surely they kept those. Oh, that's so mean. That's like just, it's like the lost media. I remember Pokemon has always had a lot of lost media, and that's just like something like that, right? Huh. Interesting. But yeah, the 17 through 21 anthology, there were the 4 stories. A couple clucking chickens were still kicking the schoolyard, which was such a weird story about the aliens. Sasaki stopped a bullet. I cried, y'all. Fujimoto, that's one thing about Fujimoto. He has the ability to make me sob in nearly every video that I've watched. I didn't cry in the 22 through 26 anthology. I didn't cry in that one, I don't believe. But everything else Fujimoto has done, I have just sobbed. And because he just has that power. There's something about the way he writes that sometimes he can be so minimalist. And the way he does minimalism, it's almost like poetry, you know? In poetry, you express your emotions through very little language, and you just choose poetry. You choose the right language to express emotions the most effectively. And I feel Fujimoto does that a lot with his writing. He picks the right emotions, the right moments, the right panels, and it just all comes together beautifully. And it almost reads like poetry, and it just impacts you so hard. Cyber says, that's like going to your English teacher and asking him for the essay you wrote when you were 9. I mean, I did have a paper, a little story that I wrote when I was like 8 or 9 that won a contest, but the people in the contest didn't realize that I just blatantly ripped off and wrote fan fiction for Rover Dangerfield. I took like the Don Bluth Rover Dangerfield movie and just wrote fan fiction for it, and I won with that, and nobody knew. They're like, what a creative story about a dog going to Vegas. I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, young me created all that by heart. Yes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that is true. I would like to see the lost media, though. I wish that they would find a way to publish that, or at least tell us like what it's about. That would be really cool too. And then the other stories in the anthologies was Love is Blind and Shikaku, which were both really good too. In the 22 to 26 anthology, there was The Mermaid Rhapsody, Woke Up as a Girl Syndrome, Nayuta of the Prophecy, and Sisters. And honestly, even though I feel like the emotions were a lot more raw in the 17 through 21 anthology, I liked the stories. I actually have some comments from the YouTube videos that I want to talk about with you a little bit with you all, and kind of read those and discuss them, because I know non-binary Lung, Moon, some of you had some comments about those stories that I wanted to touch base on. 123, which again is like one of the best handles ever. was talking about Goodbye Airy and Mermaid Rhapsody. And what they were talking about was that Fujimoto likes the idea of love being connected to consumption and cannibalism, which I'll connect it to Fire Punch. We can connect it to that too, and talk about it, and using symbolism like praying mantises, things like that. And until I read that comment by Juan, I didn't really think about it. But yeah, there is in a lot of Fujimoto's work this really interesting dynamic about consumption, consuming things, and then it being tied to loving something. And I don't know what you all think about that, but I was like, yeah, because we see it in Fire Punch a lot. Like cannibalism is a big thing in Fire Punch because it's this post-apocalyptic world. And then we kind of see it in Chainsaw Man, right? There's a little bit about it. I mean, there's the idea of blood and everything with Denji, and then drinking the blood of different demons and like making you stronger. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a common thread. And I don't know what to make of that with Fujimoto. Do I think Fujimoto's a cannibal? No. But there's the phrase "you are what you eat." So I don't know if he's trying to be coy with that, or the idea that you love something so much that you just want it to be a part of you, or there's like an innocent way you can kind of translate that, where Fujimoto's saying, "Oh, well, I think that when you love someone, you want them to be a part of you, and that's like mementos and little things like that. Like you take a piece of someone with you, like an object or something." And here he's making it very literal, being like, "No, you eat them, you literally consume them, and they become part of you." Moon says he's just a glutton. Would Fujimoto have a Food Network channel? I don't know if I'd watch it. Don't know if I could do that. Don't know if that would work. But I thought that's really fascinating. I like that he also portrays love in very different and weird ways. And it makes it very non-cliche and kind of unique. And it makes it stand out. Like the stories where he talks about love through different means, they just strike you as different than you see with other manga and anime. And again, it just makes his own distinct style stand out all the more. Now, I want to talk about something kind of controversial, because it's very controversial right now in media, in politics, in the news, things like that. Non-binary Zhitlung feels like we connect it to two of the deadly sins, lust and gluttony. Yeah, obviously, that would be fascinating, non-binary Zhitlung, if we could talk about if Fujimoto, it would be very cool at the very end of like Chainsaw Man or something to connect the 7 deadly sins to those characters, but I've not seen enough to really be able to do that. But that's so fascinating. Yeah, especially with lust and gluttony. Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. So if we were thinking about the characters right now, I'm thinking about Chainsaw Man. I'm getting off track with my controversial topic, but we'll go back to it. But okay, if we were doing Chainsaw Man and 7 Deadly Sins, just with season one, we would think we've got gluttony, we've got lust, we have pride, we have envy, we have wrath. We have, what's the other ones that I'm thinking of? We have pride, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, sloth. And then there is the other one, envy. Oh, no, I'm going to think of it here in a second. If we think of lust, like which character is lust? Are we thinking that it might be, what are these weird words? The 7 deadly sins, Cyber. Pride. We have pride. We have envy. We have wrath. We have gluttony. It's like, hello, like, so we're talking about the 7 deadly sins and applying them to Chainsaw Man characters and trying to be as spoiler free as possible. But yes, I feel like with Dingy, which deadly sin is it? Gluttony? Would we connect gluttony with Dingy the most? I don't feel like Dingy's envious. Greed. Thank you. That was the other one. Is Dingy greedy or is he gluttonous? Pride is gluttonous. Pride is the one, oddly enough, or no, power. I'm thinking power. Power is gluttony. Power is the gluttony because power likes to eat everything. I would feel like power is gluttony. Aki, do we describe Aki as sloth? When we describe Aki as sloth because he's just biding his time, he knows he's on a limited time schedule and he's biding it. Is Dingy lust? Ooh, lust personified. Ooh, greedy in a sense that he'd probably view himself as such for wanting the bare minimum. I mean, is Makima wrath? Or when we describe the mentor as wrath? That's the question, right? That's the question. Kobeni is envy or something. Yeah, that's interesting though. I think that I have to sit down and think about all that, but that's fun. I have to think about those a little bit. So getting back to the controversial thing I want to talk to you all about, and that is the story of Woke Up as a Girl syndrome from the Anthologies. So this is kind of a controversial topic, and I wanted to bring it up. I feel like I needed to question when I did my reaction to ask people that were part of the transgender community to talk about Woke Up as a Girl syndrome, because I feel like Fujimoto is trying to make a statement. Fujimoto is really smart in the fact that he makes very political statements, I think sometimes with his work, without being preachy or calling it out and being very obvious. And I feel like Woke Up as a Girl syndrome is probably the most obvious work he's had so far. And I didn't feel comfortable, since I'm not part of the trans community, talking about it, but I asked in the comments, I'm like, okay, do you all have any experience with this? Do you feel the same way? And so non-binary Jitlung, I'm going to read non-binary Jitlung's comment verbatim to you all because I thought that they had a really good comment to share about woke up as a girl syndrome. They said they discussed it with their trans femme and trans masc friends, and it was pretty fun. But even before the publication of this collection, when it was only up as a webcomic, which I didn't realize it was a webcomic, it was discussed and analyzed as a parody of the gender bin hentai, which is hilarious because there's been hentai of Chainsaw Man. So I'm like, we'll just add that in there. But it's trans misogynistic tropes. Sexual assault is depicted in the one shot. Trans and gender non-conforming people and those perceived as such. Now, I don't know, and this is non-binary Jitlung saying, I don't know if it's something Fujimoto said somewhere or just the most common interpretation among fans, but that gives us a frame to work with. The work reads as satire, tonally at least, and I think that makes sense. Even though the story is of a guy waking up one day as a girl, which is a common trans femme coding, a lot of my trans masc friends were talking about how the protagonist, probably unintentionally and paradoxically, can be read and understood more as a trans masculine than trans feminine, because when it boils down to it, the protagonist is coercively forced to live and is treated as a girl due to the social gendering of their, albeit new and diseased, quote unquote, body as a girl, though they insist multiple times they're a guy, and that remains an immutable fact. So non-binary Jitlung says, I think the conclusion is definitely something, which I feel ties to every Fujimoto story. If the conclusion is meaning something, they're trying to say something, because it positions manhood as contextual to a heteronormative kind of gendered action and role in relation to womanhood. Meaning, if you're a man, go get your woman. If you're a woman, stay and a man will come for you. But I'm not sure whether this is a satirical or kind of conservative. I'm glad that it didn't treat these sexual assault pages as comedy, though, which I'm very glad too. Yes, very glad that was not treated, even if it's poking fun at how common it is in hentai. I feel like the protagonist's fears were expressed very well. This is not the only time Fujimoto centered on trans or trans-adjacent characters in stories, and with their obvious self-insert characters being either woman or otherwise trans, I can see why people may think that Fujimoto identifies as such. I don't know how they identify because they're a stranger, but at least it's true they consume and recommend trans plus queer media often and have friends in the community. Their portrayals of trans people don't really feel like a cis man talking over actual trans people in that kind of sense. Yeah, so I find that I didn't even think about the idea of the character being trans masculine, but because, and the illusion of the story is that we don't actually see them as a man when the story starts. We see them as a woman from the very beginning, but they keep identifying as a man. And throughout the story, they keep saying, no, I'm a guy. But because they look like a woman, everyone in society tries to treat them as such. And he's like, no, I'm a guy. And then at the very end, it takes the one girl's brother to be like, well, if you really are a man, then act like it and it's fine. And that's what they end up doing. So I had never thought of it that way, that Fujimoto was just hiding that. And it's so cool. I love the idea of Fujimoto kind of tackling the hentai part of the industry, because here's the thing, Fujimoto's work, it can be quite sexual, like very much. I'm thinking of Fire Punch. Like Fire Punch has a lot of moments of sexuality that you're just like, oh God, there's a nude man right there. There's a nude lady. What do we do with this? You know, and it's just treated absolutely normal. Like it's no big deal. And I like the idea that Fujimoto is kind of subverting these expectations and what we think of with hentai, and just saying like, isn't that kind of weird? What if we do this? So I'm glad that Fujimoto is also tasteful enough, like you said, non-binary in your comment. I feel like he very much knows when to use certain themes that are mature, like sexual assault, but also make them to where they have an impact and they're not played as a joke and they're not played lightly. They are shown to be as serious as they actually are. And so I really appreciated that. What did you say in the comment? When Fujimoto tells me to read yaoi has become a meme on Twitter because they recommend BL sometimes. And that's, I do think that we could talk briefly about this, but I think one of the things that is so frustrating is that instantly when people think of BL, they're like, oh, it's yaoi, oh, it's hentai. And it's like, no, it's really not. I mean, yeah, a large majority have a sexual element, but you know what? You know what's so fascinating is that I will read BL any day of the week. I will read it any day of the week because of the way that romance is handled with those relationships versus like a heterosexual couple in a manga where they're either the most chaste, pure, and innocent until the end where you see they've had 20 kids, or it's just like it's problematic. And so I'm like, figure it out, hetero people, how to write romance narratives into your shonen. Figure it out. So I'm like, hello, Clara. Oh my gosh. Oh, the dog scene. Oh my God. Yeah. And that's the thing too. Fujimoto, I guess we can talk about Fire Punch a little bit. I think we can talk about Fire Punch a little bit. Yeah, that is the worst scene of all. Again, I don't want to spoil because if you haven't read Fire Punch, you should. It is very strange. And it was their their debut break. I just want to be the editors. I would love to be the editors in the room when he handed them the chapters and said, here you go. And and then the editors read Fire Punch and was like, are we going to publish this? I guess we are, aren't we? Yeah, I can't imagine being an editor and seeing some of the scenes being like, oh, okay. But there's something so fascinating about it. There's something so fascinating about Fire Punch in that it is the very first 2 volumes. It gives me a Game of Thrones vibe, where if you've watched Game of Thrones, the first 2 seasons, they have to reel you in, and they reel in the audiences with the story, with the characters. But there's a lot of sex in those first 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. I watched it with my parents. Don't recommend it, but we did. We watched it together in awkward silence. And then, once you get to the 3rd season of Game of Thrones, then it starts to ease up a little bit and it focuses more on the characters and the story. It's already hooked you in at this point. So you're watching to get more of them, and it works. Whereas I feel like that's the same way with Fire Punch. The first 2 volumes of Fire Punch are so dramatic and so out there and in your face and just like challenging. That first volume of Fire Punch challenges everything you as a reader. I had already committed to reading Fire Punch. So when I started it, I was like, when I started out Fire Punch, I was like, oh, this is what I'm getting into. Well, I said I'm going to read it, so I'm going to keep going. Even though that first volume, I was like, I don't know about this. And then once you read into it, it starts to expand, and it's less the shock value and more the story and the characters and the themes. And you're like, okay, good. I was hooked into this story. I thought it was going to be all this like dramatic, over the top, jumping the shark every volume. And not to say there wasn't twists, surprise, shocking moments, but it didn't feel like shock for shock value's sake. Whereas that first volume, you're just like, oh God, what cannot go wrong? Okay. The opposite of True Blood, like so in the comments. Oh my God. Yeah, no, True Blood, having watched all the seasons of True Blood, you are absolutely correct. I do like vampire stories. So I did in fact watch True Blood. It starts out real good and then not so much. Yeah. Fujimoto and Shihei in Lin had a great interview together, but you should probably wait until see it. Chainsaw Man's over. Yes, that is the one thing. There's a lot of good interviews out there, but because I'm anime only for so many series, I'm just like, what is my favorite character in Fire Punch? Oh, Edgar. You guys will feel bad that I'm just sitting here like my favorite character in Fire Punch. And I'm like, I want to make sure. It's been so long since Fire Punch. All of the characters. I feel bad for not remembering all of them. And you guys are probably like, are you forgetting? Not. But Tagada. Tagada is my favorite character of Fire Punch, bar none. I feel like Tagada was a great narrative device and a great character. What I loved was Tagada just being. At first, you think Tagada is one thing. Tagada was the introduction of the element of, wait, this is happening on Earth, only it's in the future. Oh, okay. This is just like that plot element being introduced. Tagada was a great messenger of information, explaining certain things happening, giving us plot points, giving us more lore. But I also love Tagada being a character that has so many surprises within them that start to like just unravel as the story goes on in the best way possible. And I'm not going to spoil the series for those that haven't read it, but Tagada, the things that happened with that character in the story were unexpected. I wasn't ready for it, and it just left a big impact. Agni, Agni is such an interesting protagonist. I feel like Fujimoto creates some really good protagonists. Agni and Denji are polar opposites. Could not be more different. But what I love about Agni is that you find out as the story goes, Agni starts out as being this very basic like just himbo that you're like, what is there to him? It doesn't seem like there's a lot. And then as you go through the story and you start to peel back again those layers with Agni's character, and you realize what Agni's been acting, what Agni's really been thinking, how deep his trauma goes, how deep the madness within him goes. And you're like, oh, he's really messed up and we've not realized it until now. It's like, oh, I feel like this is my comparison with Agni. Agni is like it's like the polar inverse of Light Yagami. Okay. And hear me out. Because with Light, you have everything you need to know about Light Yagami, you're presented within the first episode. And then as time goes on, you're like, yep, no, that was absolutely correct. Mm-hmm. And then with Agni, you think you know how Agni is the very beginning. But then as the story goes, you start to peel back more layers. And you're like, oh no, we weren't expecting this. What's happening? And then it just hits you all at once how kind of crazy he is. And I love it. Judah's an interesting character too. I felt really bad for Judah. I probably felt the worst for Judah in this entire series of Fire Punch, because Judah is interesting and has this incredible role and starts out as this antagonist that you really don't like. And you're waiting for Agni to kind of like shun and get away from or destroy. And then it just keeps getting more bonkers. And you're like, what about Judah? Why are you going along with this? Judah, what's happening? Judah, what? That's literally your reaction to Fire Punch. You're just like, oh my God. And so, the Agni and Denji parallels. I'm reading the chat right now in their personas. Yeah, the dehumanization that comes along with power. Absolutely. And I feel like with Denji so much in season 1, Denji isn't necessarily revered as a god yet. I feel like that's coming with his character, because Makima would really like to set Denji up to be known by the public and get a lot of power and notoriety, but that's not happened yet. But with Agni, he literally becomes a god. And we see that, no, Agni was a person this entire time. And so the idea of how he becomes a god in the eyes of so many people, and the effects like Sun, so the effects of Sun that whole thing has, like Sun's whole character becomes changed and defined by what happens to Agni. And it's just, Sun was another character. Again, there's so many characters in Fire Punch that you think you figured out. You think you know the trajectory of their story. You think you've got it. And then as the story unravels, you're like, oh no, I did not picture this coming. Oh my God, no way. And then it goes from there. Sun being another example of it. Undecided Toy Store. What were your thoughts of the ending of Fire Punch? For me, it came out of nowhere and went extreme real quick, but I liked it. I honestly, if I'm being honest with you all, I was a little underwhelmed. And maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but I guess because the story had gone from 0 to 60 the entire time with Fire Punch. And again, I don't want to spoil the ending for those of you that haven't seen it, but all I will say is I was expecting something really, really dramatic and out there and tragic. I was expecting a bad ending. See you, Clara. I was expecting a really bad ending. I know, Moon, you want to write your essay. I'm not saying it's bad. I feel like symbolically the ending makes a lot of sense. It goes exactly where I think it needed to go. But what I was expecting out of Fire Punch was, I guess this is spoiling a little bit, but bear with me. I was expecting like a Shakespearean tragedy ending where everything was just destroyed. I was expecting a bad ending. I was expecting Fujimoto to give us a heartbreaking ending where nobody wins. It's tragic and depressing, and that was it. I was fully expecting that. And instead, and I'm sure Moon, you will agree with this, instead, Fujimoto decides to go the Evangelion route, the end of Evangelion route, and giving you something that's not necessarily catering to anyone. It's not pandering. It's not like the happy-go-lucky shonen ending of oh, everything's right as rain now and they lived happily ever after. It doesn't give you that, but it doesn't give you the sad, horrifyingly bad ending that you're expecting. Instead, it gives you something like End of Evangelion, where it is filled with metaphor and symbolism, and here's what you could make of it. Here's what's left for the audience to interpret. Here's this, like, it almost feels timeless, that it's something that's like timeless and transcendent is the ending of it. And I guess I'm basically saying it's good. It's a good ending, but it's not what I expected. And I was going into this series and everybody was like, oh, Fire Punch, blah, I was expecting it to be doom and gloom at the ending. And I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't. So, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I was just kind of left going, huh, I don't know what to do with this. And that's exactly how I felt at the end of Evangelion. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. And then everybody else is like, haha, here's our essays. And I'm like, okay, all right. Which, I talked for like 6 hours about End of Evangelion. So did not talk that long about Fire Punch's ending. But yeah. Would you say the End of Evangelion did it right? I feel like with both Fire Punch and End of Evangelion, they did it right by the standard of what the mangaka created. Are those type of endings going to work with every single manga and anime? Oh God, no. God, no, they won't. Like, could you imagine if like Naruto had ended with like an End of Evangelion ending? Every shonen reader would be like, what the fuck is this? And they just like, and burned their stacks of Naruto, and that was the end of it. So yeah, I don't feel like that kind of route will work for every series, but I do think that for Fujimoto, it will work really well, because I feel like Fujimoto is inspired a lot by Anno. I feel like they take a lot from Neon Genesis as a reference. Just because of the way they write and kind of the symbolism they use. It seems that way. Yeah, could you imagine just, oh my gosh. I'm glad you feel validated, Moon. Thank you. Thank you. What if Boruto ended like Fire Punch? What if Boruto just had cannibalism? Sarada eats her dad. That's how she gets the Sharingan. What if? I think that would be hilarious. I'd be all for that. I just want this Boruto becomes a zombie fic and Fujimoto like co-writes it, that could be fun. Well, it could happen, like So says. We don't know. We should just go give the author some ideas. I feel like I can use Naruto as an example because it's of the big three that I'm least connected with. So I feel the least bad about poking fun at it. So yeah, but yeah, other than the comments there, as far as the other thing goes, Moon did have a comment related about the woke up as a girl syndrome being an allegory for female puberty, which I thought was really good. I like that Fujimoto, again, isn't afraid to touch on topics like that. I liked that a lot. And then they're talking about how Moon, you said something about the story has issues and that you were miffed at it the first time, but you appreciate it overall. I'm curious why you were miffed at the woke up as a girl syndrome. I thought it was my favorite story. I think it was my favorite story out of all of them, other than Nayuta the Prophecy. But I really, really liked it. I appreciate when an author tells a story from such a unique perspective and manages to make it. I like stories that are unlike anything I've ever read. And I will say that anything that Fujimoto has wrote has been unlike anything I've ever read. So I have to give him props for that. I thought that was absolutely amazing. Hello, did you know, Star? You made it. We've just been talking about Fujimoto and Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man. And I'm also talking about how if Fujimoto co-wrote shonen series, how messed up they would be. So, which is great, right? I think I was unsure where to stand with the ending. Get the girl to be a man. Yeah, okay. That is a really good point. That part of the story, I was kind of like, because without spoiling much, the main character is given the option. You either go after the girl to prove you're a man, or you sit here and cry to be a woman. And the only thing I could think about it is, I guess that maybe the brother thought that the main character really did want to go get the girl, and that's how they really felt. And they're like, well, you really think you're a man. That's how you really feel inside. So do what you really feel on the inside. And if it's being a man, go get the girl. And then if it's not, then stay here and be something else. And that's kind of how I took it. And I think that if maybe it wouldn't have came across that way if the girl had been a guy that he was chasing after, maybe it wouldn't have read so stereotypical. But yeah, I think that's a very valid point to bring up. Undecided Toy Story. You say, would you say his stories are better in long for the manga with multiple volumes, or one shots like Good Look Back or Goodbye Area? Oh my God, what a question. Here's the thing. Right now, I would say I do really think Fujimoto is amazing at one shots. I think Look Back and Goodbye Eri are two of the best pieces of literature I've read in a long time. They made me sob. They thematically are beautiful. There's literally, I can't flaw. I can't find a flaw in Look Back and Goodbye Eri. They are just that good. They're just really solid short stories. But I don't know. The only multiple volume series I've watched is Fire Punch, and that's like saying, do you think this dragon fruit is as good as these apples? I'm used to apples, so throwing in a dragon fruit, it's like, well, this is good, but I don't really have much to compare it to. So I don't know. I feel like time will tell the answer to that question, Toy Store, whether or not once I see the other seasons of Chainsaw Man, I feel like then I'd be able to say, oh, yes, I feel like he's better at long series or short series. But I'm really, really excited to, yes, I hope you like the reactions to Goodbye Eri and Look Back. They're two of my favorites. I love them. Also, some of the topics packaged in his snappy pacing did not land well enough gravity when they call for waking up as a girl. Yeah, I feel like there are some topics that are really heavy in his stories. And when you only have 20 pages to tell them, it can kind of be like, oh, what do we do with that? I do appreciate Fujimoto kind of taking on the challenge of a shonen manga with Chainsaw Man, because Fire Punch is not a shonen. It's not like your battle shonen. It's not, I didn't know what to expect when I went into Fire Punch. It's unlike any series I've ever read. It's just very weird. It's not even episodic. It just kind of goes from place to place and doesn't really follow any type of narrative formula. Sometimes it stays along with this plot thread. Sometimes it stays along with others. But I feel like it's hard to compare, but I do appreciate what he does with Chainsaw Man a lot. I feel like, here's my thing with Chainsaw Man. It feels like a Twin Peaks of shonen, okay? And I love Twin Peaks. I love comparing lots of things to Twin Peaks. But what I mean by that is that Twin Peaks by David Lynch, it was making fun and satirizing the sitcom soap opera formula. It was making fun of it directly, but doing so in such a very classy and subtle way that you're kind of like, oh, well, this seems like a soap opera or a sitcom, but then you watch it and you're like, what's this? And it goes completely bonkers and surreal. I feel like in a lot of ways that Fujimoto is kind of like doing that with Chainsaw Man. You think it's like got the formula of your stereotypical battle shonen, but then it does certain things that you're like, oh, this doesn't follow the formula. What's this? What's happening? And I really like that. I think it's refreshing. So Fire Punch being in Jump Plus is amazing. I'm just imagining the editors being like, the fudge is this? What do we do with these? Like, just looking at like a girl becomes a tree? What? We've seen some bizarre things in our time, but what? No Name. Do you have a favorite character from Chainsaw Man? Ooh. This is fun because if I had a favorite character from Chainsaw Man, I would have to say that my favorite character from Chainsaw Man is Makima. I do like Aki a lot. Aki's my second favorite. Aki's number 2, but Makima is my favorite. I am fully convinced that she is a villain, and I love me a strong female villain character that is just so manipulative and so masterful. I don't want to get too much into her because she's so mysterious, but like a lady character that can just sit there and like undo the tie and be like, I'm going to kick your ass now and you won't have anything to do about it. Like all of her scenes in season 1, I was just on the edge of my seat being like, I know something bad's going to happen and I want to see what it is. Like the moment, like with the bag of eyeballs, I was like, honey, she founded the company, owns stocks, and has sold 49% of it to a trust fund that she's in charge of. Like that's where she's at as a character. She is super scary, terrifying, and I want to see more of her in every episode. She's like a little drip of like a sugar rush. She's like a serotonin like IV that I'm like, yes, please give me more. The Yakuza scene, yes. She's just here's my thing. Because Power as a character, Power comes off being very like, you think that Power is going to be the character that exudes that same energy. And not to say she doesn't. Power exudes a lot of fun energy. Power ends up being a lot more like tsundere and friendly than I expected her to be. Whereas Makima, I'm just like, no, she's terrifying and we should all be afraid of her and everything that she does. So yes. And the way that she manipulates is just absolutely brilliant. Mm-hmm. She's just so mysterious. Yes. And I think that Fujimoto is really smart in doing that because like non-binary Lung says, one of the best things about watching reactions of Chainsaw Man is that there's so much that isn't explained outright that you just get to theorize and be like, okay, well, what does this mean? But what about this character? What are they actually like? And that's kind of why the Gun Devil's so intriguing, because I know nothing about them. And I'm like, I want to know all the things. And we're only given a tiny little bit about it, right? And then, yes, when Power was submissive at the beginning, I was like, oh, okay. So Makima, yes, Makima has her hands everywhere. And I love it. I love spidery characters. I love characters that have their hands in multiple places and you don't quite know it at first until you're caught in the web. And then they're like, okay, I've got you. Now you can't go anywhere. I love characters like that. I love good villains. And so a good villain is, there's different types of villains too. There's scary villains and there's hammy villains. And then there's ones that can mix both. And the ones that can mix both, like Aizen Sosuke and Bleach, like Makima, the ones that can be both scary but also like charming and kind of hammy that you just kind of fall for, that is my jam. I'm like, yes, please. So yeah, that's my favorite character. Aki's number 2 though. Aki is very stoic. I like his character a lot. I feel like Aki, I didn't expect to like warm up to him as much as I did, but then I fell in love with him. Yes, the best kind. The best kind is a good villain, right? All Makima needs now is Chair-sama and the transformation will be complete. Maybe she'll use Dingy as Chair-sama. Maybe that'll happen. Let me sit on you for the next 2 seasons. Okay. Yeah. Did you know Star? My favorite villains are the ones that are either super relatable or have actual good motive to it. That is true. Oh yeah, and Makima being like, Makima versus Johan would be fun. That would be great. I agree, Did you know Star? I either want my villain to have really, really good motives, or Cyber, I'm reading your comment, or that they're relatable, right? I feel like oftentimes villains are very one note, or that they're just like, I just want to control the world because a reason. And so I like villains that have multiple kind of means behind their actions. It makes them more dynamic. I like that. Undecided Toy Store, with Viz pushing so much of Fujimoto's work into publishing and animation, do you think Fire Punch would ever get an anime? We talked about this on Discord. Here's my thing about that. I don't think Fire Punch has anything that's so extreme that we've never seen before be animated. I don't think that Fire Punch has so much that's weird that it wouldn't get animated, but it's everything all at once, right? Like, I feel like there's many shows out there that have gone as extreme as Fire Punch, but I don't know if they've gone extreme from start to finish. That's the thing. And I'm kind of with Moon with their comment. They said that in the Discord back when we were first talking about this. If it's not a perfect adaptation, then we don't want it. I'm 100% with Moon on this, because if you're going to adapt something that's bizarre like that, it needs to be spot on. And I don't want a movie, Devilesque. No, because y'all already are taking my high Q away from me in some stupid movies. No, because a movie wouldn't be enough. Exactly. Like Moon said, a movie would not be enough. We would need like a mini series. Like give us 12 episodes. 12 episodes. Give us that. A movie would not be. Cyber says movie everything. Why do you hate my life, Cyber? Why? No. I feel like movies have their place. And like I said with Demon Slayer, it worked because there was like a little tiny mini arc that you sandwiched between 2 bigger arcs. That worked. A Netflix 10 episodes. If they did an hour-long episode and did it in 10, sure. Now, your one-shots, like Devilesque says, Goodbye Eri could so be a movie. Look Back could so be a movie. Those you could definitely adapt into like an OVA movie style, and those would be really, really good. I just don't think with Fire Punch, there's so much you need it to be a series. Yeah. One-shots, maybe like the mini-series. Yeah, if you did OVAs with the mini-series and one-shots, I think that would be amazing. Yeah. What did non-binary Jitlung say? It's one of those manga that's near impossible to adapt because it takes full advantage of the manga medium. That is true as well. Yeah, the fact that I think a good example to kind of relate to that would be, and I know there's been another person compare this as well in their video essays, but when the producers is a famous play that was performed here in America. It's a stage production. It's a medium. It needs to be theater. When it was adapted into a movie, it didn't translate as well. It's still good, but it doesn't translate as well because a lot of the things that the play does can only be done in a play. Like with the producers, a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the actions rely on the fact that it's performed on stage with a live audience. So when you transfer it to a film, you lose that, and it doesn't have as much impact as it did in its original medium. And I kind of feel like with Fire Punch, there's so much that are dependent upon no sound, the way the page is constructed, the way that Fujimoto does repetition with panels, the way that they do. Unless you directly translated that from the page, it would not work. But if they tried, if they wanted to go like, it would almost be like an experimental film. Like it'd be surreal, experimental, which I'm all for. If they wanted to do that, that would be amazing. So yeah, I'm kind of with Moon. I would love a Fire Punch adaptation, but it would have to be done perfectly. And I don't know if any studios like, I don't know if we're ready to touch that. Don't know if we're ready to touch that. They should do some of the one shots versus OVAs to see if they're popular enough, right? But yeah, the use of that repeated panels by Fujimoto, it's so well done in Fire Punch. I absolutely loved it. So yeah. Did you know, Vistar? I feel you need to have a prior setup for your characters to have a movie. If it'll feel rushed. The Black Clover movie. Yeah, well, Black Clover, there's like what, 400 chapters of that manga. Like that, any type of shonen that has like a movie attached to it usually has the people watching that movie have read all of that material so that they go into it knowing what to expect. And, you know, it's kind of like a celebration of the manga at that point. It's a celebration of those characters in the story. Whereas with Fire Punch, I feel like it could be a mini series, but it would just need to be, I would love it if they made a full series and then released it all at once so that people could binge or watch it. You know, I feel like you'd want to binge Fire Punch. You wouldn't want to watch it week to week. But that's just me, right? They're going to do a Netflix live action adaptation of Fire Punch and get and then who would be the live action actor to play Agni? It'd be like the worst. That would just be, oh my God, Light. Yeah. Oh my God. It'd be the actor that played Light in the Netflix movie would play Agni. That'd be great. That'd be terrible. As a manga reader, would you say your experience with the entire series can be made or broken depending on the ending? I loved my entire experience with that. Okay, I don't want to know anything else about Attack on Titan because I've not said the ending. I know some people don't like it. I don't want anything about Attack on Titan mentioned. I'm avoiding spoilers because I've not seen the ending, so I'm just going to fight off anything about those. But I will say, as far as that goes, I feel like it is very hard for a mangaka to write a series for years and years and years and then have a conclusion that's going to satisfy everybody. It's just not going to happen because you've got so many people by that point. Like we'll look, for example, a mangaka's wrote a series for 10 years and you've built up all these followers, all these fans of that series. And then Oda sweating. Yes, exactly. Because you've built up all of these series all of this time. And so you've gotten fans from across the world, from multiple cultures, from multiple generations reading it. And then suddenly you have to end the series. It's not going to impress everybody. So I feel like some people are going to get mad. Some people are going to love it. And that's kind of what I heard. To answer your question, Cyber, I'm still reading the manga for Attack on Titan. Check those out. My manga reactions, but it's going to be fall. Like it's going to probably be, I do not want to watch the season 4, part 3, act 1 until act 2. The final act is almost out. So it'll probably be around Thanksgiving, probably be around November. It'll be the end of October when I get done with the manga. And when I get caught up with the manga where, you know, season 4, part 3 starts. And then I'll be watching the anime and then I'll go back and look at the manga afterwards. So if the anime ending is different than the manga, I'll get to see it. So yeah, if we just don't get a GOT ending, that's fine. Yep, exactly. And so I feel, as I say, Uzagi Drop, I don't know that series. But I do feel bad for mangaka because, you know, most mangaka I feel probably have a way that they want their series to end. And they have it in mind, and when it finally happens, of course there's going to be people that don't like it. So I feel like I don't blame mangaka anymore. Like a lot of modern mangaka, you'll notice the series are not very long, and it's because they're probably afraid of the backlash this series might have, because they're just like, I don't want to spend 10 years on this series and then people not like the ending, so screw that, I'm going to move on to another project. So I don't blame them for not making as long, which, you know, Kubo and Oda and the author Kishimoto, they're insane. Like for doing Oda's insane for doing like 1,086 chapters. Like, what are you doing, sir? Like, I give Oda so many props because he's like one of the best storytellers I've ever read. Like the fact of that how big One Piece is. But I do worry that Oda's just like, I gotta end this. So I'm just gonna what I love that Oda's doing is he's taking his time. He's saying, screw you all. I got my millions. I'm gonna take my time and do the series how long it ever takes me, right? So, oh no, I hope that they don't put series on indefinite hiatuses. That's absolutely awful. So, oh, thank you. Thank you, Edgar. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that. I really love reading manga and I love doing reactions for them. They're not as big on my channel as the anime reactions, obviously, and they take a long time to do, but I do really enjoy them. It's going to be fun when we get to Berserk's manga. That's going to be a fun time. I have a feeling. Yay. So Nana, I've heard Nana's really, really good. But it's in hiatus. Well, that's really sad. That's sad indeed. I will say though that one thing that I think anime can do wrong is that when the anime tries to wrap up before the season is done, I use number 6 as an example, because number 6 kind of the anime ended before the manga did, and the anime ending was not that great, and the manga ending is so much better. So, did you Nova Star? Where's your thing? Are Hanako or Yona manga reactions coming out? Hanako, I'm waiting for. I've got on my little piece of paper here, my little note here. Hanako, I'm waiting for chapter 105 to be translated. And then Yona, it would be chapter 241. The Discord's been keeping me pretty up to date. So whenever Yona gets caught up with enough chapters in the English translation, then I'll get back to those. And I know I have Sarah for the end, but I'm doing a lot right now. So I just don't have time for the extras. It'll probably be fall before I get those extras in, just because there's so much going on right now. I need to get a few things finished before I get back to the extra stuff that are kind of off channel. I read you Fire Punch. Oh, thanks. I'm sure that me reading Fire Punch was fun. Me being like, and I love reading manga. It's kind of like when I read Heaven Official's Blessing. I'm not like, I know some reactors can do the voices and everything. Me being a woman kind of makes it hard sometimes because, oh no, did you Nova Star? You're great. Being a woman sometimes is hard to do the reactions because my voice range when I'm trying to be like a male character, it's like I don't want to deepen my voice and sound ridiculous, but I don't want to do that, so I just kind of read as myself. But no, did you know Star? Oh David, Demon Slayer the next season. So I don't plan on it immediately. I haven't really talked about this with anybody on Discord or anything, but I'm doing a lot for my channel right now. There's like 12 things all at once. So I'm trying to record ahead and get all that planned. But the other thing was that, unfortunately, someone accidentally shared a spoiler in the Discord of who dies in season 3. And they didn't spoiler tag it in time. And I saw it. So I was like, oh no. So that has not given me a lot of incentive to watch Demon Slayer anytime soon, unfortunately. Yeah. So I'm one of those people that I'm like, this is why I'm so adamant about not being spoiled, because that instantly makes me go, ugh. So wait a little bit on that one, because I was kind of like, oh, ouch. Okay. So I'm going to wait a little bit. I mean, it'll probably come up in a poll, but yeah, I'm not going to watch anytime soon, because I was really mad the other day. I was like, damn it, they didn't spoiler tag. And then they spoiler tagged after the fact. And I was like, well, that was too late. So then, so yeah, I've just not had the incentive to want to watch it anytime soon. Yeah, they had like some kind of meme where it was like, what's the same about every season? And then it was basically that the character in the image for the OP dies. It was like, oh, whoops. So I was like, yep. I was like, well, that seems like a spoiler. So, and then they instantly spoiler tagged it, being like, because everybody else was like spoiler tagging, being like, what are you doing? So, yeah, it was just like, well, you've kind of given away who dies in this season. So I'm going to kind of wait. It really threw me off wanting to watch it. What else do we have on here? When are you going to play Doki Doki Literature Club? Whenever I have time, Cyber. I'm doing 12 shows per week on top of everything else in my life. So, you know how that goes. Yeah, and that was a spoiler. Doesn't matter, Devilesque. A spoiler is a spoiler, and the fact of saying this, the fact the meme was, they said in the comment, they were like, they said in the comment, they were like, the person basically was saying that whoever's in the OP with Tanjiro dies every season. I'm like, that doesn't get much more subtle than that. I was like, welp. And then they instantly get spoiler tagged. And I was like, a spoiler is a spoiler. It doesn't matter how subtle it is. And that was not subtle. I was like, well, you've just told me the answer to that question. I would like to do some visual novels. I would. But again, like so much is going on right now. Like 12 shows. I'm teaching 3 classes. I'm doing a full-time job. I'm like, there's a lot going on, right? What else do we hear? What else is on here? The Game of Thrones Toy Store, basically with them, they just kind of abandoned the show because they were bored with it and they wanted to move on to another project. But they had quit using the author's input for a while now. So, yeah, I try my hardest. And like I said, I have moderators now. So, and I don't feel burned out, did you know, Star? Not at all. But I do feel like I, sit on the channel. I'm like, oh, I'm doing 12 shows right now a week. And then people are like, well, when are you also doing this? And I'm like, not until I get to where I'm down to like 7 shows. Like, honestly, when I'm down, and yes, like, so they were working on Star Wars at the time too, and kind of got more into that. So yeah, I do want to do a lot. My problem is I don't have enough time, right? What other reactors do you watch? This is going to sound awful, but I don't watch a lot of other reactors because I mainly am just doing this. Like, I really don't. My day, when somebody on the Discord was like, how do you find time to do it all? And I'm like, I don't do anything else. It's really my job, this channel, and I spend some time with family and friends, but I don't really watch any other TV unless I'm just like binging. Like, I've been doing Drag Race. Like, I've been binging Drag Race. That's probably been the only recreational thing I've been doing because I can do it while I'm grading papers, and it's something I don't have to pay attention to. Honestly, Semblance of Sanity is the only other reactors I really even watch. And I'm not even really reacting or watching any of their reactions because now I'm at the point with my channel that they're reacting to shows that I am hoping to one day react to. So I don't want to watch their reactions, So unless it's a series that I've already done on the channel, I'm not really even watching their stuff. But they're really Semblance of Sanity and Klaxon and Murder of Birds when they were doing Ruby. I watched them a lot. So and I watched some of their stuff because I like Murder of Birds and Klaxon. They seem like really cool people. They are like some of the most animated reactors I've ever watched. And then I like the 2 girls. There are 2 girls, Zhao Long, that react to Ruby as well. And I watch their stuff too because I like them. They're really cool. But yeah, those are about the only reactors just because I don't have a lot of time, and I respect the Semblance of Sanity brothers. I feel like I agree with a lot of the things that they say, or I find their reactions really interesting or really fun. But I like Zhao Long so much. They're great. I just find them, some reactors I don't know, and maybe it's because I'm like in my 30s. Some reactors I can't get into. I don't know. And so, but Flaming Shark watches me? What? I like his stuff too. What is happening? Oh, and Tiabu. I know Tiabu. He joined Patreon. He's on there. Tiabu, I really liked. I've watched some of his stuff and it's really good. And I've watched some Flaming Shark stuff. But what? I didn't know that he was a patron. Holy cow. Why did I not know this? This is awesome. Cool. I'm going to look this up now. Thank you, Moon. But yeah, I would say Flaming Shark and Tiabu. I've watched some of their stuff sometime. But like I said, I just don't have time to watch reactions, and because I'm doing stuff for my own channel, and then I don't want to watch a reaction for something that I could possibly do as well. So yeah, if Flaming Shark does Chainsaw Man reactions, I would definitely watch those. So hopefully that ends up happening. But yeah, so I'm curious, y'all, questions you guys have about Fire Punch, Chainsaw Man, Fujimoto. I love his work so much, and I really appreciate. Okay, he's in the Discord server. Oh my gosh, I did not know this. People lurking around everywhere, Moon. I love that. the updated top anime list of all things that you have watched on this channel. I did do a community post, did you know, Star? We did do a stream a little while back where I did tier rankings on there. So I think on the community post there is where I've ranked different series. So you can kind of see on that community post there's like a tier list that I did. The only thing that would be updated since then would be Death Parade. And I would give Death Parade, I'd put it in the B category. It'd be a solid B. We'll talk about Death Parade next week, but I would put it in the B category. It's so good, but it has so much potential, and I hate that it's only 12 episodes. There's actually the audio drama for Death Parade coming out later today that I'm going to have on here, probably around 3 o'clock. I'm going to put it out here for y'all, but I'm really excited about it. So yeah. I know, did you know, Star, there is an audio drama for everything these days. Have you seen Kuroko's Basketball on the channel? There's like 20 audio dramas, and I love them all. Yes. Where Fujimoto's earlier works worth picking up? Something titled 17 to 25. Yes, I really like the anthologies. I got the digital versions. They were cheaper, and I have room on my bookshelves, but then I don't. So yeah, I would say they're worth picking up if you really like Fujimoto's style and you like his characters. They're not, I don't think, as good as Look Back or Goodbye Eri, but they're still really good. So I think if you get the digital copies, they're cheaper and they're worth it. But I definitely wanted to support Fujimoto because I think their work's really, really good. What was your very first impression after the first episode of Chainsaw Man? I would say my very first impression after the first episode of Chainsaw Man is it is living up to the hype, because everybody had hyped up Chainsaw Man so darn much leading up to it coming out. My brother loves Chainsaw Man. He'd been hyping it up. Everybody on Discord had been hyping it up. Everybody on Patreon and Facebook and YouTube had been hyping it up. I was so anticipating it. And my biggest fear was I was like, oh, I'm not going to like this. I was like, what happens if I watch the first episode and I don't like it? And I'm like, I've committed to this. And now everybody's going to sit there and watch me be like, which, you know what? Honestly, there's not been a show on this channel I haven't liked that I've watched. So that's a good thing. But I was really worried about that. So which of Fujimoto's character did you love to hate? Oh man. Love to hate. Ooh. Did you know, Star, I'm so fascinated by the fact that you don't like Denji. That just like blows my mind. Denji's a cinnamon bun. But actually, if I had to pick a character that I didn't like from there, I would say that it would be, where is the character? The Ice Witch from Fire Punch. I just, that was a character that I really thought was going to go in a certain direction, and they didn't at all. And I was like, what? But you, I would say Celia, not Celia. And it's not that I hate Celia. I think it's the concept that her character did not go as far as I wanted her to. I think that was maybe why I didn't like her. And I was just like, come on. And plus I was just like, I was waiting for her to like have this big thing with Agni, and then it didn't happen. And I was like, well, then what was the point of you? And then, yeah, you know, what do you think about the discourse on the cinematic style of season 1? Something more vibrant and complained about it. Here's my thing. I'm watching a lot of different anime right now, non-binary Jitlung. And here's my thing. I've watched anime since I was like in the early 90s as a wee kid, watching them on VHS tape. I love freaking Unico, The Adventures of Unico. Animation is not something that I will consider a negative towards any series. It can always be, for me, I feel like an animation style can always elevate, but I feel like animation can only elevate. To me, it doesn't take it away. So I was totally fine with Chainsaw Man's style and aesthetic because it fit the tone. It fit the tone of it. I didn't want something bright, cutesy, and rainbowy in Chainsaw Man. I mean, if it did it, that would have been cool. But I didn't mind the tone of it at all. I thought the animation was fine. I mean, I'm watching Berserk right now from 1997, and I think the animation is perfectly fine. So I don't. The CGI is not the worst thing I've seen. The Colossal Titan in season 2 of Attack on Titan was worse CGI, and I was totally fine with it. I was like, nope, we're good. So I was like, I've seen worse CGI than what was in Chainsaw Man. I was like, okay, whatever. I feel like there's a series I'm about to watch later on down the road that I've heard the animation is very controversial with, and I'm already kind of like, the one brief moments I've seen of it, I'm like, it's fine. I don't see a problem with it. The only thing I will say is that, oh no, Cyber, I hope you're not having a panic attack. Please don't. I hope you're okay. And so, what does it say there? Bad CGI, the one in Modazushi. See, yeah, if I can handle Modazushi CGI, I can handle anything. I watched Reboot in the 90s. You don't get much more worse CGI than that. I think it'll be fine. If I can watch Reboot and think it's amazing, nothing else will make me feel bad, right? I feel like for me, the animation is not the make or break for me to like a series. I know there's been a lot of series that have come out the last few years that people have given a lot of flack for in the comments and within the fandom. They've been like, oh, I don't like that show because the animation is bad. For me, I don't care about the animation. I care about the characters and the story. Now, granted, you can make fun of some bad animation sometimes because why not? Like when Haikyuu is outsourced during season 4, there was a lot of people that noted like some of the bad animation because it was outsourced, and I'm like, yeah, of course. We had to make fun of that, but I don't think it took away from me enjoying the series, right? I don't think that's the same way. I do agree, No Name, that the new episode of Jujutsu Kaisen, the animation style does feel similar. It's still different, but yeah, I want a great story. Like, so if you give me a good story, I can deal with animation that's maybe not the most grand, as long as the story goes. Because I've seen some series that have amazing animation, and the story is just, it's fine. The insanity. Oh, interesting. I don't know what you were talking about, Edgar. I don't know what series we're talking about. I've seen such mixed reactions to season 2. I think non-binary Shitlung, this, and I'm going to talk about it in the reaction that's going to come out this weekend. I think the big thing is it's a very different style than season 1, and I think that a lot of people get negative when things are different. I'm a Taurus. I don't like change, but I'm doing fine, right? The Fire Punch series. Oh, yeah, the first volume of that series, man, what a trip. I hope that it's like that too, Cyber. I hope that season 2 of Chainsaw Man is like Jujutsu Kaisen season 2, because already I talked for an hour in the discussion of the first episode of season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen, and that was quite a difference from the 8 minutes of season 1 when I first started the channel. Very, very, very different. My thing with Mappa is, I think that Mappa sometimes they wear themselves far too thin. They take on way too many projects, and they try to do things that other animation studios that only do 1 or 2 projects do, and they just don't maybe do it effectively. They still do fine. They just need to treat their animators better. They need to treat their animators better and let them sleep. You know what you do. Cyber, how dare you? Oh, no, I know. Yes, I'm very, very excited for the second season of Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm excited for the second season of Chainsaw Man. I think it's gonna be fun when it comes out, but I'm very patient. And like I said, I have so much that I can watch in the meantime, as you guys have all pointed out in this Discord, so much to watch that I'm really, really excited once we get to it, right? Yeah, they take on a lot of projects, and that's good and bad. So, what other questions we have about Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man before we get off of here? Claymore. I've heard of Claymore, Edgar. I have. It's on my list. Yes. Now, see, Hell's Paradise. I have heard they're doing a second season of it. I don't know much about it. I don't want to know much about it because I may end up watching it, but I heard a lot of people were not happy with the animation for it, which is sad, because that is sad when it finally gets adapted and doesn't meet up to your expectations. With Wit Studio, Toy Store, I understand that. I understand their style. I would say that I appreciate Wit's style for the animation. I really am glad Mappa's sticking supposedly more with the story. I'm not quite to season 4 in the manga yet, but from what I've heard, it does seem somewhat similar. This thing, because they're 2 different mediums. I love them being different. Yeah, and the thing about Fujimoto with Chainsaw Man, I feel like Fujimoto is kind of like Akutami with Jujutsu Kaisen, and I know that they're friends, but the manga are so rough and ready. Like, the style of the manga is so rough and ready and very distinct, especially Jujutsu Kaisen, that when you animate it, it almost has to be different, because it's very difficult to, I think, to animate how the mangaka create it. I know, Moon. One day, Moon, I will get to Hell's Paradise one day, because I know they say the dark trio is Fujimoto, Akutami, and the creator of Hell's Paradise. Thoughts on Denji's goals? Well, Edgar, I think Denji's goals will change over time. At least that's my hope. And I may be wrong. I think the story is either going one of two ways. The story is either going to go one of two ways with Chainsaw Man and Denji's goals. And this is just me theorizing. I don't want to be proven right or wrong. You all know how the song and dance goes. But I feel like with Denji, it's either going to go one of two ways. Either Denji's goals are going to change over time, and he's going to slowly develop, kind of like the Maslow hierarchy of needs. He's going to develop more and more into his personality. His goals are going to develop and alter, and his ultimate character goal will be to not want Makima's boobs anymore. Or his character is going to stay exactly the same, but the circumstances around him are going to become so drastic and prevent that from happening that he's going to be forced to come to terms with, what do I do with this, even if I keep the same goals. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with him. I would love his goals to develop, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I could see Fujimoto being like, sorry, he's going to stay the same, and me be like, okay. It would almost be really ironic if Denji didn't change and just kept the same goals, and Fujimoto was making a commentary about how, usually your shonen protagonists have an arc as a character. If Denji doesn't have an arc, I'm going to laugh my ass off and be like, his character just doesn't change, and everything else around him does. That's hilarious, right? I love that. Oh, the author of Hell's Paradise was an assistant for Fujimoto. Yes, I did hear that, which is really cool. And yeah, I've seen that was really sad about losing the hype for that series. Yeah, and Denji's just a teenager. And so, going through adolescence, sometimes people change their minds really quickly and develop quickly as a kid. And sometimes it gets worse. So maybe his goals will get worse over time. We don't know. So yeah, any other questions about after Edgar's? I'm looking on here and to see if we have any more questions about Chainsaw Man or their... Yep, out of every mangaka out there. I love that the mangaka, can we just talk about that real quick? I love that Fujimoto and the mangaka have all these friendships, because I remember when the big three were out, Oda, Kubo, and Kishimoto. I remember you never saw them at events together. You never saw them interacting with one another. They were always very separate. And now you see Akutami, and you see Fujimoto, you see Horikoshi, they're all friends at events. They collaborate with one another. I just kind of love that the mangaka now have all these camaraderies. I think that's so fascinating. I really love it. Do I have a favorite genre of anime? Okay, we talked about this in the Discord. Himeno. Yes, Himeno. Oh, Himeno. We'll talk about Himeno in just a second, Floor. I'll bring her up. I would say that my favorite genre of anime is either mystery and detective crime noir or sports anime. I love action. I love drama. I love romance. If you include all those into your genres, that's great. But I really love a detective mystery, and I really love sports anime because I can ship all I want in a sports anime. It's great. It's like a secret BL every time. But yeah, Himeno is such a great character. And I got the vibes of Himeno dying. I guess if you guys are watching this, you've watched Chainsaw Man, maybe. But I got the idea of her character dying, but I didn't think it was going to happen the way it did. And I didn't think it was going to be as soon as it was. But I really, really liked that. I liked Himeno's character a lot. I liked that she was kind of this very different form of love. And not that it was necessarily toxic, although you might think it was that way. But I liked what she represented as being, again, Fujimoto's ideas of love are very different than a lot of mangakas. And the way they express that with their characters is different too. So I really like Himeno as well. Himeno was, of season 1, Himeno was definitely in my top 5. I liked Himeno as well. Kobeni is just amazing. I love Kobeni too. Again, subverting expectations. You think Kobeni is going to be the first character in the series to die, and instead she becomes a badass. And it's oh, I did not expect this, but should have known it's Fujimoto, right? I love it. And I like the idea. Yeah, the Spy Family's mangaka was an assistant as well. I like that Fujimoto supports their assistants. That's really, really cool. It's the idea of, you help out a mangaka, you learn the tricks of the trade, and then you go on to make your own creation. Pochita, oh, Pochita, what a marketing genius. Pochita is marketing genius, you know? Because here's the thing Fujimoto could have done. Did you know about? I'm glad you brought that up. Because what Fujimoto could have done was say with Pochita and made it like this creepy, like evil devil that like takes over Denji, forms this like Faustian alliance with him, which essentially is what happens. And Fujimoto could have made Pochita be the like nastiest, creepiest thing ever. But instead, he makes it the most marketable, fluffy, cute freaking thing ever, and everybody wants a plush of it. Exactly. So I'm like, that was marketing genius. Fujimoto knew exactly what they were doing. They're like, I'm gonna make some shit so cute, everybody's gonna want it, and it's gonna like reel everybody in, right? I love it. Oh my goodness, what do we have here? You have a Pochita plushie. I would love a Pochita plushie. What I would really like is to get Huckleberry a Pochita costume, and then that way they could dress up in them and cosplay like in the background here while I'm doing reactions. That would be fun. That would be a fun time. Fujimoto is a funny guy. Fujimoto definitely has an interesting sense of humor. Reading the Attack on Titan manga now, Isayama has a very dark, very dry sense of humor. I feel like Fujimoto's humor is a lot more animated and bonkers and surreal. Fujimoto's like, if you were doing a drag race character, a drag race queen, Fujimoto's like Katya. I feel like Fujimoto's like Katya from Drag Race. That's the queen that they embody, right? I feel like that's the case with them. I've just been watching, like I said, the only thing I watch outside this channel is like Drag Race right now. So what can we do? But yeah, any other comments about this before we wrap things up with this live stream? I feel like Fujimoto loves trolling and lying, so you never know if he's being honest or not. Yeah, and that is the one thing, Moon, that is the one thing about Fujimoto that I really like in their stories, is the idea that there's always this element of you question whether it's real or not. Like you get down to the nitty gritty of what's reality and what's, figurative in his stories, but there's always an element that you have to question and be like, are they being real? Like I think of Look Back and Goodbye Eri. Like is part of this real, or is it all just supposed to be taken as imaginary? And you don't get a clear answer. And I love that about Fujimoto. It's great. So yeah, I wanted to talk about Fujimoto and Chainsaw Man and Fire Punch and his series, but I was honestly so afraid of this stream because I was worried about spoilers and things. So thank you all for not being spoilery. I love it. Devil asks, do you think he ate his fish? Was it real or not? I'm like, part of me is like, what grown-up person would eat a dead fish? I just don't know. Part of me wants to believe like it's just made up and there's an element. I think that he went to bury the fish and couldn't. But then a part of me is like, do I think that he ate it? I will never, again, like Moon said down there in the comments, we're never going to know. He's going to leave us in suspense, not knowing the answer, and we have to speculate on it endlessly. And that's kind of like a metaphor for all of his stories. You just sit there and speculate endlessly about it, but you're never given any clear-cut answer whether it was true or not. What do we do, right? What do we do? So yeah, spoilers should be illegal. I honestly think that, if AI technology can do one thing, they should be able to detect spoilers and just flag it so that we don't have to read it, right? I think that should be a thing, but who knows? Fujimoto trying to levitate. Oh my God, of course. So I'm really glad I got to talk to y'all about this. Where's one Fire Punch interview from a few years ago where he's completely honest, and it's weird to hear him be rational and down to earth. Ooh, non-binary shit lung. Do you have a question, or are you saying about the clip of Fujimoto trying to levitate? I bet you're saying it about that. So I'm glad I got to talk to y'all about all my Edgar saying my theories about Chainsaw Man were awesome. Oh, thanks. I feel like whenever I theorize about a manga or anime, I'm like 90% wrong and like 5% maybe on track and 5% you're close. One of those things. What is the weirdest thing you've seen a character do to get powers? Oh, Moon, you're not keeping me here in the live stream at all. But I do have this question from Sussy here. The ship of the Gun Devil and Pochita. They're still a ship, Edgar. Gun Devil and Pochita are going to be my ship for life. OTP clearly, along with Aki and Angel. OTP for sure. The weirdest thing I've seen a character do to get powers. That's such a weird question. And you guys could all probably chime in as well. I, I, mm, I guess Agni in Fire Punch is one of the weirdest. I think Agni getting like the fire abilities that he gets by being burned to death. I think that's one of the most weirdest, most disturbing ways a character has gotten power by just literally being burned alive. I think that definitely is up there, right? But yes, the Gun Devil and Pochita. Now you've reminded me of it, Edgar, and I'm so excited, so happy that that exists. So yeah, that was a really good question, Sussy. I think that definitely Fire Punch there. Eating a finger, that's definitely up there too. Eating body parts. Again, I feel like Fujimoto and Akutami got together and was like, so cannibalism, what do you guys think about it? Let's put it in our series. Mm-hmm. Yep. And Midoriya, yeah, there's a lot of ways in which cannibalism and eating parts of people is involved in, I mean, even Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, Fire Punch, they all involve eating body parts or drinking body parts to gain power. And that's really freaky. So yeah. Thank you, Diginova Star. And then I would see, I'm thinking about Cyber Edge Runners might be on a future poll too. Yep. Your chainsaw dog becoming your heart is weird. Yes, very much so. Although, I mean, there's been lots of animes where demons have like combined with characters' hearts or been part of their body or fused with them. So is it too crazy? I don't know. Let's just eat hair. Yeah. Blah. No, that's like disgusting. I can't. There was like a chapter of Heaven Official's Blessing where there was like hair in the food and I nearly gagged. I was like, I can't do that. Can't do that at all. So yeah. I don't know when the next Fujimoto work that we will look at will come out. But starting this week, we've got 3 new shows on the channel. We've got Jujutsu Kaisen, Berserk, and then the following week will be Link Click and Bungo Stray Dogs. So there's a lot of stuff coming out and a lot of stuff still going on the channel. I think the only show even close to wrapping up is Millionaire Detective, and that'll be in August. So we've still got it for all of July. But yeah, but thank you, Toy Store. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy your week too. Yes, did you know, Star? Link Click's going to be coming out at the end of July on YouTube. It's going to come out next week, next Monday, not tomorrow, but the following Monday on Patreon. So I'm excited. But yes, okay. And non-binary Lung, everybody's been asking me this. I know that there's a Link Click OP and ED. I'm obviously not watching it until it comes out with the episode. I'm blind reacting. Why would I look at it beforehand, right? I mean, I have to look at it with the first episode. I would not look at it. Anytime people are like, oh, there's an OP and ED out, I'm like, I will see it when it comes out in the episode. So yeah, definitely we'll check it out then and be able to react to it for the first time on there. So thank you. Give a big shout out to Floor and Moon for staying both so much for tuning in and listening. That's really, really awesome of y'all. But yes, I'm really excited. I'm excited for Link Click. I'm excited for Bungo Stray Dogs. Thank you guys for making this such a fun stream. I know it's hard not to get into spoilers, but I was so happy to talk about this with you all. Next week, not this coming Tuesday, but next Tuesday, we'll be wrapping up with Death Parade and doing a live stream about it. And then from then on, we'll have a live stream for Millionaire Detective in August, and that'll be it for a while. So thank you all so much. I'm really happy and really appreciative. I hope the rest of your Sunday and Monday is amazing. Thank you guys so much. All of my love to all y'all. I'm going to go take these dogs out now. So they've been super nice during the stream. So thank you guys so much for all the kind words and support. I really appreciate it. But I'm going to go take my dogs out and then maybe record something. So yay, rah! But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And I will talk to y'all again soon with more reactions. Bye.